Well, hello there. How are you doing today? Do you feel like doing a little bit of DIYing with me today? Well, come on in. Let's get started. What do I have going on for you for today? Well, today I have a quick and easy DIY that is so budget friendly. The outcome is amazing and it's one of those interchangeable pieces. I can't wait to show you what I have in store for you for today. So this is one I think you're absolutely gonna love. I'm gonna quit my gabbing. Let's jump into it and let's do some DIYing on a budget. Cause why not? Cause that's what we do here. Let's get started. Who is today's KB Creations Crafter of the Day? You'll want to stick around to the end of the video to see if it's your creation that's being featured in today's video. If you're interested in being featured as a Crafter of the Day in one of my videos, submit a picture of one of your recreations of a DIY that I've done to either Facebook or Instagram. If you want to DM it to me, you can. Then you just simply have to look out for the end of each video to see if it's your DIY that I will be featuring in that given video. Alrighty, so jumping on into this DIY, this is a Frankenstein DIY plaque that you can find at Dollar Tree right now. Now these plaques, hands down, one of my favorite things to DIY. So many people see them and they think to themselves, what am I gonna do with this wood plaque? Well, when you put a little bit of DIYing into them, they can turn into a pretty fun decor piece, and I'm going to show you a few today using these here Halloween plaques. So to this, you're going to actually get to see some mishaps in this, but to this I started off with a base coat using some black matte acrylic paint. This here is a crackle medium by Folk Art that you can get at Michael's for about $6 or $7, and it's an easy way to achieve that crackle look if you don't want to use Elmer's glue. Now when applying this, I will tell you that you do want to apply a good healthy coat. You don't want to do a thin layer, and for whatever reason this is where the mishap came in on this DIY. I don't know why I wasn't doing that with this. I put a very thin coat of the crackle medium on, and that is going to then, in a few minutes, I will show you how it affected the look of this DIY. Now you can see just how thinly I was placing this on. You need to put it on a bit thicker because that is going to give you a better crackle look. Once you apply this medium, you do want to let it dry and cure for about 2 to 3 hours. So it's best if you just kind of do it at night, go to bed, and wake up and pick up with your DIY in the morning. Once your medium has cured, you can see the difference of where I applied it and where I didn't. Now is where we are good to go ahead and put our top coat on this. When applying that top coat over the crackle medium, you should see the crackle effect taking effect pretty quickly on as you apply the paint. Right out the gate, when I was applying this green over it, I started to realize that it felt a bit different, and that's just my experience of working with this. And then I realized, you know what? I did a thin coat on this, which wasn't enough to get that crackle effect. So I decided anyway just to go ahead forward and see if I could get any crackle from it and if it would come through. And as I did it, I started to realize it just wasn't going to happen, and I wasn't really happy with the way I guess this plaque was starting to look anyway. So that's when I decided to shift gears a bit. Yeah, this is an example to me of what bad looks like. This was just kind of like a wonk, wonk, wonk. So back to the drawing board I went. This here glass container is a nice size, right? You can find this at Dollar Tree, and it's gonna make for the perfect container to hold salt wash. For salt wash, you're gonna need some plaster of Paris. This carton, you're gonna spend about $3 on it at Walmart. I'm gonna start off by placing the plaster of Paris in, and I'm gonna mix it with some kosher salt. Now, kosher salt is a must because it is a thicker, more gritty salt. And what is the purpose of salt wash? It is to, one, thicken up your paint, and 2, add texture. And it's that kosher salt that's gonna add the texture. So to this container, I'm gonna add a bit of the plaster of Paris. I'm gonna go in with some of the salt, more plaster of Paris, more salt. I'm gonna mix in between. Are there measurements? I'm gonna say that there probably is, but I don't have them. I just kind of winged it, and my winging it turned out pretty okay. And would you look at the salt wash that we just made for the bargain price of about $6. Now, you can find a smaller container on Amazon for about $22, and the larger one you're gonna pay about $45 to $46 for, but I say just DIY it yourself. Now, how do you use this? You're gonna wanna mix your batches individually as needed. So I'm using these paper cups. I'm gonna add my paint to it. I am using a folk art paint, which is a thinner paint. When you're using a thinner paint, you're gonna need a bit more of the salt wash to thicken up your paint. When you're using Waverly, I found you only need about 1 teaspoon to get the thickness and consistency that I like to add to my DIYs. But with the folk art, you know it's pretty close to a water consistency. And so to thicken it up, I found that I needed about 3 teaspoons for a Dixie cup size this big. Now when doing this, this is going to lighten up your colors a bit. So you might want to go on the darker side if you are going to use a salt wash paint for your DIY. Once you've got it good and thick, and I'm happy with this consistency here, you are free to go ahead and add it to your DIY. So back over what I just did, I am going to do. When applying this, you apply it with a dabbing or a tapping motion, a patting motion. You don't want to brush it on because you are, oh, I added more salt wash to it. It wasn't quite thick enough. There we go. Like I was saying, when applying this to your DIY, you do want to use a tapping motion or a patting motion to get that texture, that unevenness that you're looking for with the thicker paint and the salt. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply that to this whole plaque here, redoing what I just did. But I think I don't do the bolts on the side of Frankenstein's head, which I was thinking clearly on. I don't know why I did his hair, but nonetheless, this DIY is still going to turn out amazing. This is going to take a couple hours to dry, so you're going to want to let it have that amount of time to do so. Now, this clearly does not look black after I applied it, but that's okay. You can see just how much it lightened up the paint. So you will want to add a bit more of a pigmented color if you want it to stay as dark as it originally is. Look at how cool the texture is on this. Oh my goodness, I am obsessed with this. Now I'm gonna go in with some of Waverly's Fern Green because I think it's the perfect green for Frankenstein. I'm not even gonna add any black to it to darken it up. I think that this is just the perfect Halloween green for this. And I am gently going to brush on this paint. When brushing it on, you really want to be careful because you don't want to break those tidbits of salt out of the paint. You want it there because those salt pieces are going to add texture to this. And texture, I am all about that, right? Right. Once it is dry, I'm going to go in with a stiffer paintbrush and using an ink pad. This is a black ink pad by Jot that you can get in the office supply section at Dollar Tree. I am going to outline all of the fun parts of Frankenstein. Now, by doing this to the eyes and these pieces, it is then going to add dimension and depth to this versus just leaving it the way it is. That shadowing, those fine tuning little things that you do to a DIY, they make all the difference in the world. So pick yourself up a black ink pad next time you're at Dollar Tree, cut down a makeup brush, because that's what this was, and add some shading or distressing to your DIYs. It's easy and it makes all the difference. Now, when I tell you I am obsessed with this salt wash technique and paint, that is no exaggeration. I am obsessed, so you can expect to be seeing your good fill of this. Now, when I was adding the ink for shading, I went over all those tidbits of salt and plaster that are in the paint. And can I just tell you that I am loving, loving, loving. The excitement is real. The outcome of how this looks by doing that. I really feel like it adds what Frankenstein's face really looks like. Tell me it doesn't. Frankenstein is dead, his face is decaying, and it gives it just that look. Oh my word. I am so glad for the mishap of that crackle medium, because had I not had it, it would have had a crackle effect versus this effect, and this effect, oh my word, is everything. Yeah, tell me it's not, right? Oh, love this. My goodness, seriously, this might be my favorite outcome of my Halloween DIYs this year. What am I gonna do with this plaque? Well, if you saw my Halloween ladder DIYs, I added some of Dollar Tree's LED Halloween lights to the back of the plaques just to kind of enhance them. Although I couldn't find any green lights and it could have just been my Dollar Tree, I thought that purple would be a fun color to add to Frankenstein. There's 10 lights on there using some hot glue. I'm just gonna hot glue it and kind of hide those wires as best I can. But we're still not done with this. What am I doing with this? Because it's not going on the ladder, right? Because we already did those DIYs. Well, using one of Dollar Tree's placemats, this is a buffalo check one. I picked up several of these when Dollar Tree had them because I like them for the buffalo check and I like it for the backside because it's black. I also like these because there is weight behind them versus using just a felt or a fabric. So where am I going with this? Well, you'll have to wait for it. If you're new to my channel, this is such a fun DIY. If you're old to my channel, you probably know where I'm going with it. Digging on into my felt, pulled out a couple of purple felt sheets. These felt sheets are, I wanna say 8 by 12. I placed the first one down and I'm cutting it down just a bit smaller than the placemat itself. Once I've got it in place, I'm gonna use some hot glue and hot glue this piece down to the placemat, keeping it in place. Then I'm gonna place the second piece right above it and cut it down as well. And this is just kind of doing some patchwork because I needed a bigger piece of felt. Dollar Tree does have felt rolls, but the colors kind of vary from time to time and it's kind of hard to find certain colors certain times a year. And so sometimes it's best just to use the felt sheets like I'm doing here just to do a bit of patchwork and it's really not gonna show at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this piece down as well. Then I'm gonna take that Frankenstein plaque, kind of place it where I want it to be on what is going to be a garden banner. The wiring there, I know where it's gonna be. I thought, maybe I'll pull the felt up, maybe I won't. I know where the plaque is gonna go, so I decided just to pull out some scissors and cut a slit there to actually slip the battery pack through. Now, there probably was a better way to execute this, I will admit, but nonetheless, I think it turned out okay. Once I put the plaque down, I did kind of realize that some of the slit was gonna show and I didn't want the battery pack to maybe slide through it, so I did place some hot glue there, just kind of closing up the slit a bit. Then just pounded the back of this plaque with more hot glue. Now the hot glue that I'm using is a high heat temperature hot glue, so it is going to withstand hotter temperatures. Although October where I live isn't super hot, so I don't really have to worry about the glue softening up and coming off. When you use a low heat temperature glue gun, you do need to worry about that. And so once I've got my plaque in place, yep, it's on there, I'm gonna go ahead and flip, oh yeah, look, the lights work. Oh yeah, they work. I wanted to make sure they work, and they work. So let's go ahead and flip this placemat over. And on the back side here on the top edge of it, I'm gonna place a bead of hot glue and just kind of fold this over about 2 inches. Now this is gonna make a pocket. You don't want any glue on the sides, just on the long part of the placemat because this is a garden banner. Then I'm gonna go ahead and place some hot glue on the battery pack, hot gluing it to the back, still giving me the capability of changing out the batteries. Yeah, I know, right? I love this. And now I felt like it needed just a bit of finishing up. I needed to fine tune it. Those edges looked a bit rough for me, so I went into my ribbon stash and I found some white rickrack. Oh my goodness, how long has it been since you used rickrack? I've got it in every color in my stash, and I thought, heck, this is gonna be adorable for it. So I went ahead and first outlined it with the white rickrack. I love saying that. And it just wasn't doing it for me. I felt like it still needed more. And I realized that I had a thinner orange rickrack in my stash. And so I went ahead and placed a bead of glue right along the center of it. And because this is a smaller one, I figured, oh my goodness, it'll look really cute if I place it on top of the white, offsetting it. Oh my goodness, how cute is that? And now we've got all my favorite Halloween colors, the black, the purple, the green, the orange, the white. It doesn't get any more Halloween than that, right? Let's go take a look at this when it's done. Oh my word. I don't know if you all know this, but I love making my own garden banners because it is unique to me and my decor style, and I DIY'd it. The picture doesn't do it justice, but it was a fun piece at night, and during the day, it's even cuter. How about this cute wood skeleton for the next DIY? It's held together with these metal rings, so I'm gonna remove them because I don't need them. My word, seriously, would you look at all the holes that are in this skeleton? They've gotta be filled in, so of course I'm gonna do it. It's gonna make it look better, I promise. I know, repeat, repeat, repeat. I will tell you, the next morning when all that spackling was dry, I had a few pieces that needed some sanding, like this one. But it is so worth it because look at already, without it even being painted, how much better this piece looks because it's not so busy with all of the holes. You can actually see the skeleton for the skeleton itself, which is what I want. This piece and all of the pieces are gonna get a good coating with just some basic white chalk paint. I'm using Waverly's. Dollar Tree has felt rolls. These felt rolls, they're fairly decent size. It's 11 3/4 inches wide by 48 inches long. Now, is this the best quality of felt? I'd say not, but I'm gonna use it anyway because it works perfect for this. At the top of the felt here, I'm gonna fold it over about 2 inches and I'm gonna glue that flap down. This is going to give us a pocket. Now, when you glue it down, you don't wanna glue the sides down because we're making a pocket. You just wanna glue the flap down itself so it stays folded. Dollar Tree's got these heavy duty rubber mats. And when I say heavy duty, they've got some weight behind them, which makes it perfect for this DIY because I am making a Halloween garden banner. When I don't add weight to my garden banner, they tend to flop around in the wind and they don't always set nicely when they're hanging. By adding a bit of weight to the garden banner itself, it is going to actually stop it from flopping around in the wind, and it's gonna, I guess, hold its shape a bit better. This is the inside of the banner, which is the inside of the felt. So I'm just gonna hot glue this rubber mat to the felt itself. Once I've got the rubber mat glued down, I'm gonna cover it up with more felt and I'm gonna kind of sandwich it in with this 48-inch piece of felt that we have. I'm gonna lay the felt right on over and I'm gonna hot glue it on the top and the sides, still leaving the pocket there at the top so we can put our garden banner on the rod itself. To the front of my felt, well, that's where this adorable skeleton is gonna go. Now, the front of your felt banner is the front that is seamless. The back should have where the two, I guess, ends of the felt meet, and the front will be seamless, giving you a blank canvas to decorate your banner. And so in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and add my skeleton and just hot glue it to my banner. Now, if you're worried about hot glue holding up in your elements, then use a wood glue or Aleene's tacky glue. It'll just take a bit longer for it to dry, but it'll get the job done. I'm not super worried about whether or not the hot glue is going to hold up or not, because I am using a high temperature hot glue, and the temperatures where I live don't reach that hot to melt my hot glue or soften it up. So I should be good to go. If you're using a low temperature glue gun, then you're going to want to use a different glue, and that's where I would be concerned about whether or not your pieces are going to hold up in the heat or not. I can't help it. I tried not to add stitching to this, but the more I looked at this banner, it just didn't feel finished, and it didn't, I guess, go in with the rest of my pieces. So with my chalk paint, I'm going to add some stitching to my felt as well. I picked up some of these Halloween metal words, haunted, spooky, and beware. I thought the perfect one for this DIY would be haunted. And well, this haunted is going to get a nice couple coats of white chalk paint using my sponge dabber. This haunted, it's gonna go right up here at the top, just finishing this piece off. I am absolutely in love with this piece. Again, I think it's such a fun piece. It kind of emulates an X-ray, and that really was the look that I was going for. I say get creative, make it your own, and why not do some Halloween DIY and porch decor? I've never had it before, and I think this is a fun addition to it.
License any asset type in one simple plan. Try free for 30 days. Start creating with Adobe Stock.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not.
Who is today's KB Creations Crafter of the Day? It's going out to Delia and for this DIY, I dug through my plaque stash, pulled this one out. It's a pretty old one. To the back side of this plaque, because it is a blank canvas, I'm going to give it a nice good coating of some Mod Podge, because what am I going to cover this with? I'm going to cover it with some burlap. Why do I like to cover plaques with burlap? I feel like burlap adds texture, and I love the texture of burlap. You can skip this step and just simply move on to the next one, which would be painting the plaque, but it's going to give it a different look and it's going to add personality to it. So I say go the extra step and just add the burlap. You'll be much happier. You'll have a better outcome. When adding burlap to a plaque, once you place it down on the Mod Podge, you are going to want to go in with a second coat of Mod Podge over the top of the burlap. It's going to absorb that Mod Podge, so it's going to take a bit of it, but you're going to have a better outcome because it's going to stiffen your burlap, it's going to adhere perfectly onto your plaque, and it's going to make it easier to, wait for it, remove the excess burlap. Because you use Mod Podge stiffens the burlap, which in turn makes it easier to cut off that excess burlap, and it's gonna stop it from fraying, so you're gonna get those nice, clean, perfect edges. And I'm just using a safety cutter and a nice fresh blade and using the plaque as a guide, and just like that, all the burlap is off, and we are ready to give this a nice good coating of, yes, my rustic orange. This would be Hello Hobbies orange with a touch of dark brown just to rustic it up. For those of you who are new to my channel, I don't do bright colors. I like nice muted rustic colors. So if you just add a drop or two of brown to your colors, it will mute it out and it will darken it up and it'll give it that nice aged distressed look. I thought I'd step out of my comfort zone, try something new, maybe add some stitching to the edges of this plaque to finish it off. Haha. This corrugated tin cat is a must for this DIY, and so are these metal words, haunted, spooky, and beware. I'm going to be using beware and spooky. And to these three pieces, I'm going to give them a nice good coating of some black chalk paint, and that chalk paint would be ink by Waverly. I like to apply the paint to these metal pieces with a sponge dabber because it goes on thicker, it goes on even, and you're free of brush strokes. I find when you use a brush, it comes out very uneven and it's hard to get rid of the strokes, but if you use a sponge dabber, it's quicker, it's easier, and it gives texture. So I'm going to do that to all three of these pieces. The stitching really brought this lucky black cat to life. I'm gonna add 3 or 4 Jenga blocks to the back of this cat because why? What do Jenga blocks do when you add them to a piece like this? It elevates it up off the plaque, which in turn adds dimension to your DIY. And to the back of these words, since a Jenga block won't really work because I want them elevated, if I use these small non-useful beads, well, I feel like they're non-useful because I never string any beads for a DIY with these small ones. I just wish that they would replace them with the bigger ones, but I guess if they did that, then I wouldn't have them to put on the back of these words. So maybe I don't wish they do away with them because I need them for today's DIY. Haha. So I'm gonna add these small beads, a few of them, to the back of these words so I can elevate these words too on this plaque, giving them, let's all say it, dimension. Dimension really does add so much to a DIY. If you were just to lay these words flat down on the plaque, you will see that there is a bit of a difference. And I really feel like doing small final touches like this take a DIY decor piece to the next level. Now, I'm not a huge Halloween decor person, but this piece is so stinking cute. What am I gonna do with it? I'm gonna take some of Dollar Tree's felt roll. You're getting 3 3/4 inches by 48 inches long of felt. This felt, it's not the best felt. It's a bit on the thinner side, so I like to double it up when making my garden banners. So to make a garden banner, I take this top edge, fold it over about 2 inches to make a pocket so I could slip the garden rod through. Yeah, that. I like to add some weight to my banner. An easy way to do that is to pick up one of Dollar Tree's, what is this? Table mat, right? A placemat. Table mat? Good golly, Kelly. And I'm gonna hot glue it to the inside of my felt. And this is gonna add weight and it's gonna help it so it's not kind of flapping around and blowing around if you live in a windy area like I do. Yes. Once I've got it all glued down, I'm gonna take and just pull over my felt and fold it over, closing up my banner. I'm gonna hot glue the felt closed on both sides and right along the top. Now it's time to put this together. I'm gonna hit the back of this plaque with a ton of hot glue. I'm using a high temperature glue gun. If you're using a low temperature, your plaque might fall off on a pretty hot day, but because this is a high temperature glue gun, it would take a pretty hot day for this glue to melt and the plaque to come off. I'm gonna place my plaque right there on my felt, making a garden banner. Let's go take a look at this. Who is today's KB Creations Crafter of the Day? Well, it's going out to Tammy, who's bringing to us her recreation of my wall decor DIY using Dollar Tree's Jenga blocks. Tammy, thank you so much for sharing your recreation with us today. This is a fun DIY. It's quick, it's easy, it's budget friendly, and for me, well, it's interchangeable. If you're looking for more DIY inspiration, well, guess what? You can click on the video right over here, and it'll take you to some of my past favorites. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day. Oh, those are the dogs. The front door was open. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day. Happy crafting on a budget. Stay happy, stay safe, stay healthy, but most of all, you know what I'm gonna say. Stay positive, please, because I sure as heck am trying.